Hello, I'm Tim Smith with the Adams County Historical Society, and we're standing west of the town of Gettysburg at the edge of what is known as Reynolds Woods. If you like the Civil War content we provide or the historic Adams County content in our videos, please push the like button and subscribe to our page. Reynolds Woods or Herbst Woods or McPherson's Woods is a grove of trees west of the town of Gettysburg in the area of the First Day's battlefield. At the time of the Civil War, this woodlot, which we believe had cows grazing it at the time, so it was more of a grove of trees and there was very little underbrush. We know that because there are some photographs that show the edge of these woods taken in 1863 by Matthew Brady and his crew when they arrive here. Um, Herbst Woods is part of the Jacob Herbst Farm. And the boundary between the Jacob Herbst Farm to our south and the Edward McPherson Farm to the north is the fence line along the northern edge of these woods. Now, having said that it's the Herbst property and not McPherson, that didn't stop uh, people who were writing about the battle afterwards calling it McPherson's Woods in their account. As a matter of fact, the regimental official report of the 24th Michigan Infantry by Colonel Henry Morrow calls it McPherson's Woods. I think that I should say, the Gettysburg Battlefield Memorial Association, who purchased the land, was conscious of the problems with McPherson and Herbst, and that's one of the reasons they decided to call it Reynolds Woods. Of course, the other reason they decided to call it that was because John Fulton Reynolds was killed at the edge of these woods on the morning of July 1st, 1863. And it is one of the more dramatic deaths in the American Civil War. And think about it, there are very few times where a commander as high in rank as General Reynolds here on July 1st was killed in battle. Very few times. I mean, you might think of Stonewall Jackson at Chancellorsville, Albert Sidney Johnson at Shiloh, for instance. Uh, McPherson outside of Atlanta comes to mind. Nathaniel Lyons, John Sedgwick at Spotsylvania, but John Fulton Reynolds commanded a wing of the Northern Army of the Potomac on the advance to Gettysburg. And so he's technically not just a corps commander, he's the wing commander. And on the morning of July 1st, fighting had erupted in the fields west of the town. Reynolds arrived. He gathered information about the situation, and he realized that he needed to bring his infantry onto the field as quickly as possible. And he actually rode over to the 2nd Wisconsin and led them in a charge and was killed leading the charge. I think that you could make the case that John Fulton Reynolds, as overall commander of the troops on the field at that moment, a man who was just sent one of his staff officers to General Meade's headquarters in Tonytown, suggesting they bring the whole army to Gettysburg, had other things to do besides personally leading a charge. And to my mind, this is a serious case of micromanaging. And of course, Reynolds was killed leading the charge into General James Archer's brigade from Alabama and Tennessee. And when he died, whatever plan he had for the defense of this area that morning died with him. By the time Abner Doubleday found he was in command of the troops on the field, he had not conversed with Reynolds until earlier that morning. He had very little idea of what Reynolds' plan would have been. But Doubleday assumed that Reynolds wanted to hold the area west of the town, and so Doubleday started the defense of this area based upon that idea. Now, of course, the Northern Army do win the battle. And, a lot of people credit John Fulton Reynolds with a plan to fight the battle out here to hold the Southerners back long enough for the rest of the Union Army to arrive and occupy Cemetery Hill. I think a lot of that is in hindsight, and we really don't have much information as to exactly what Reynolds' plan was. Uh, I have always thought that Reynolds wanted to fight a battle out here to just keep the army, the Southern Army, from concentrating on the road hub of Gettysburg, because once they were concentrated, they would be a very dangerous foe to face off against, and not so much the hills south of the town. But that's a debate for another day. Now, Reynolds is killed here at the edge of the woods on the morning of July 1st. And, you know, people debate about exactly what time it occurred. And the accounts range wildly from like 9:30 to 11 o'clock. But one thing is interesting about his death is that clearly, if you read the accounts, Reynolds is killed while the 2nd Wisconsin is charging into the edge of these woods, facing off against General Archer's brigade. And specifically, the 2nd Wisconsin seemed to be coming into the woods on an angle, and it appears that Reynolds probably falls over there somewhere at the edge of the woods as they're entering the field of battle. But Reynolds is clearly killed by a volley from Archer's brigade that is fired at the 2nd Wisconsin as they pass by him. And Reynolds rides up to see where the rest of the Iron Brigade is. And of course, you know, according to his staff officer, Reynolds' last words were, "Forward, for God's sakes, forward, and drive those fellows out of the woods." And of course, then Reynolds is killed. What's interesting is over the years, Reynolds' death has been claimed as being something else than it was. And if you look at some of the books that have been written about it, whether it be Harry Fonz's book on the first day, or David Martin's excellent book on the first day, or Morning at Willoughby Run, or even some of the earlier books that were written years ago, they seem to highlight the fact that Reynolds was killed by a sharpshooter. Forget about the fact that he's leading a charge into the woods against a whole brigade of Southern infantry. No, he was killed by a sharpshooter at the railroad cut, or someone in an apple tree near the McPherson farm, or someone down along the banks of Willoughby's Run. I believe there are like 10 different accounts by Southerners that claim they're the one that killed Reynolds. And it's almost a sport to try to pick one and say, oh, it was this one and not that one. It's just simply ridiculous and preposterous. Reynolds was killed by a random volley by the Southern Army as he was leading a charge. And it's very clear in the accounts. I don't know how many times we can say it. But you know what? Generals are always killed by sharpshooters. Regular soldiers just die.